Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. It's time once again for new acquisitions. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
Greetings, Dan. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
How does it feel being inside my computer?
It feels strange.
Yeah? Yeah? Is that an odd place
I'm
to
trapped, you know? Like, can't get out.
Well, that's okay, because I need you trapped for a while, because I need you to help me review some comic books. And we're going to start off right away with Age of Ultron #1. We've got 7 books today, and I'm going to be reviewing a couple of things that Dan did not read, and he's going to be, I think, doing just one thing that I didn't read. So most of this is going to be stuff we both did, but then we're going to kind of go back and forth with some singles. But anyway, so we're going to start off with Age of Ultron, and this is, Dan, another Bendis book. It's like we can't read anything that's not Bendis right now.
Yeah, 3/4 of the things that I read this week were written by Brian Michael Bendis, ironically enough.
And what I love about Bendis is that, especially the way he's writing right now, he's so spot on that, like, if you didn't see the name of who was doing it, you might think it was 3 different people.
Yeah, I mean, his style definitely comes through and how he's pacing everything. Especially this issue here, I thought was a decidedly an interesting choice in how slow he opened this.
Okay. But I just don't think that most of his stuff lately has been as decompressed as I'm used to with Bendis. I feel like he is kind of picking up a little bit, especially more than he was Avengers a couple of years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. This seems to be a lot more about the atmosphere of the post-apocalyptic future that he's talking about than it is about even storytelling, I think.
Yeah, there's not really too much plot in here. It's sort of like throwing us into a situation, getting to know where all the characters are in the certain places that they're in, what sort of what threat they're facing. We don't really know the full scope of it yet, but we know how they're sort of dealing with it, and I enjoyed that about it. I think this event will have the advantage of being released weekly, so if it's slow burn, we'll be able to get all of it within a reasonable amount of time, which is cool. And one of the things I really liked about this is Peter Parker is Spider-Man in a Marvel comic book. How cool is that, guys?
I bet even 6 months ago you didn't think that you would ever find a time where that was going to be an exciting thing.
No, not at all. But all joking aside, I thought this was pretty cool. I thought the characterization of Hawkeye was really fun. Hawkeye got a lot of cool things to do in here. I like Hawkeye a lot. So that was cool to see. The atmospheric stuff worked pretty well, I thought. So I don't know. It's slow, not too much plot. There's some cool character stuff, but I'm going to wait till the second issue to decide whether or not I'm really into this, you know?
I think I will probably buy all of this. I mean, unless second or third issue, just for whatever reason, I think it's just awful or something. But I mean, like, I think I will probably keep on this regardless of my reservations. And my reservations are simply, I feel like I've been here before. I feel like this is a 90s Marvel comic. Look at the cover. Okay, somebody argue with me and tell me this is not a 90s Marvel comic, right? You know, really, we open this with a holofoil, and it's called Age of Ultron, so we're riffing already on Age of Apocalypse, and it's a post-apocalyptic thing. I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm not going to come right out and say, oh, this is just like a thing we've done before. Maybe he's going to go somewhere with this that's kind of unusual in some way or another, and it does have. And hopefully he plays with this. It does have the nice idea of one of the superheroes created the threat that destroyed the whole world, and so hopefully they play with that a little bit, because this is kind of Hank Pym's fault, you know, in a way. So
yeah,
we haven't seen him yet. I don't know if he's going to be in this, but.
Yeah, I hope they go that in direction with it. One of the things I wanted to mention, too, is the artwork, because this is sort of Brian Hitch's long-heralded return to doing work at Marvel. I didn't really care for the art in this as much as some of the other work I had seen from him, just because I think Bendis' writing style doesn't really suit him very well, in that Bendis is a really small moment kind of guy, and Brian Hitch is the guy you get for big widescreen panel full-page spreads. And I feel like a lot of his art in here was sort of like little moments trapped in small, thin panels across pages like this. I don't know, it felt kind of claustrophobic to me, and I couldn't tell what I was looking at some of the time.
I think that was intentional, but that didn't help me enjoy it. And also, there were, when you talk about the small panels, there were definitely some pages, and I don't know if you had this, where I had a difficult time telling if I was supposed to go all the way across or if I was supposed to go down a page. And you got to look at it really closely, where, you know, if you have a panel that finishes off just slightly on the next page, you can tell that you're supposed to keep going across. That should have gone a little bit farther across the page so that I could tell. I had a couple pages where I actually had to read this issue twice because of that, believe it or not, where I read down a page and I went, wait a minute, I was supposed to keep going. Oops. That was problematic. And to your point, I think the best thing that encapsulates what you're saying is that the only thing that impressed me art-wise the whole issue was the last splash page at the end, which I thought was amazing, which I won't show you because it kind of gives away what little bit of a cliffhanger there is here. But but anyway, like, I thought that was awesome. I'd like to have a poster of that. But that was the one thing I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's pretty much where I fall down on it. Like, it's just sort of an introduction issue. Not really all that much happens, so yeah, you know.
I guess we'll see what happens, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on then. Dan, I'm going to review something you didn't read real quick. Here is, or maybe not real quick, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Here, I always say that. I'll be like, and briefly, and then like 6 minutes later. Yeah, but Logan, that wasn't
good, though. We have a lot to say.
Here is Superman number 17. This is the conclusion of Hell on Earth. There were things I loved about this and things I didn't love about this. I'll start with criticisms. At first, I thought that this kind of ended a little bit too easily, and it actually does and it doesn't. I appreciate the fact that there's a big setup for more things to come, so I'm absolutely immediately interested in continuing on from this, which I didn't think I would be. I thought once this arc was done, I'd be like, oh, do I want to stay on this book? There's a cliffhanger at the end that is directly tied into to what happens here, that actually, not just tied in, it's because of what happens at the end of this, where I'm like, oh, wow, I guess I gotta keep reading. So that was cool. But what I was going to say is, I don't like, who is this, Scott Lobdell? I don't like Lobdell's language sometimes for Superman. I just don't, maybe it's a personal taste issue. I don't love how he, his voice for Superman, and he has places where I feel like some of his characters start sounding a little bit writerly, if that makes any sense, where they have language in their dialogue balloons that sounds like something that you would put in a narration box of a third-person omniscient narrator telling you about things and describing stuff, and I'm just like, human beings don't talk that way. I'll see if I can find a good example of it while I'm talking here. But another thing I didn't care about when it comes to language is also, another language thing. This is an example of that, but I thought it was weird that there are places where Superman sounds kind of British.
That's really strange.
Where there's a place where he says, great, real helpful, that sounds British to me. I don't think Superman would say that. That's really strange to me.
That's really weird.
But anyway, here it is. Here's the big one. Superboy has a line where he says, Wonder Woman, I need a few more moments of cover until I can use my TK power to pull this star chamber down around Hell's long, unkempt hair. That's writerly. Nobody would say long, unkempt hair in dialogue. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially Superboy of all people.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, that was strange. A little writerly. And the other thing is there's way too much thought balloon stuff going on here. The Supergirl has, I won't give away what, but of course Supergirl finally has turned against Hell from her issue, the Supergirl issue that precedes this, and she has this moment where she seems like maybe she's going to turn back to Hell, but it's a ruse, and I know it's a ruse because I've been looking at her thought balloons. I mean, like, I could have been, I could have thought for at least a split second maybe she's, maybe the ruse was all on Superman the whole time, but no, we saw her thought balloons that she was leading up to this, so I didn't care for that. The way this is written, I've got problems with. What is here is fine. I like how Hell is defeated, sort of, and I like the ramifications that it seems like are going to happen from this. This is a really solid crossover event. I liked everything I read of this, and I got to get the rest of it. I haven't read all of this. I've read bits and pieces of this, but what I read of this I thought was really, really quite good, and I feel like Superman's kind of back for me in a big way. And what's funny is I'm liking Supergirl better than Superman right now. Just of books. I mean, like I like the writing on it better, I like the art on it better. I gotta get back to that book. This is on my pull right now. Supergirl's not, and that's not right. I gotta remedy that. Anyway, that's about what I've got to say about that. Oh, and by the way, there's also a character in this called Oracle Dan, and I'm sorry, but that doesn't look anything like Barbara Gordon. I just it's. Let's move on now to all new X-Men number 8. Dan, this was the funniest issue of this series.
It was hilarious.
How did this suddenly turn into a comedy book for a minute? Like it was great, and and I'm not saying that it was like it was suddenly comedy and it like came out of nowhere or whatever. I was just like, because it was character driven. It made sense. It was with the two angels, but I was just like, wow, it's all of a sudden this is funny.
Yeah, I thought he was channeling Jason Aaron a little bit, because Jason Aaron had been doing some really funny comedy bits with this current Angel in the Wolverine and the X-Men book, because he's a part of the school there now. So it was kind of cool to see that stuff come in here, give a little bit of a continuity between the X-Men books. I thought that was cool. I really liked this issue because Angel's a character that I personally don't really have all that much investment in, because I don't know, he doesn't really have that much of a character in a lot of things I've read. There may be things out there that he does, I just personally haven't read them. And I appreciated here that we got Angel sort of coming to terms with he almost has the worst fate out of all of them, where it's not that his life got screwed up or anything. It's like his life doesn't even exist for his future self or anything like that. It's a really interesting dynamic between the two of them, where like Angel's referring to his past self as a newer model of the Angel and things like that. It was really interesting, really interesting psychology for the new Angel, and I'd like to sort of have an issue that delves into just him. I thought he was a really interesting character.
Yeah, I felt like Bendis was kind of saving this, because we haven't had much with Angel yet, and we finally got some Iceman stuff an issue or two ago, and I kept kind of going, well, Angel's going to be kind of the lamest of the five to deal with, and then it's not at all. It's fascinating, and it's also really interesting that they are probably the two most surprisingly different of the pairs. I mean, like, they're two really different people, and to the point where one is almost kind of, I mean, they're both people, but one is less human than the other one. And I thought it was really interesting how the newer Angel is, in some places, he seems almost more robotic, and yet he's like the most optimistic and the most lighthearted and the happiest and the most fun of like all of the X-Men right now. And I was surprised by all of that. I was just like, this is really intriguing. The best scene in the whole comic, though, I have to say, in my opinion, that I was just laughing out loud at, literally I was laughing out loud at this, was when Iceman and Kitty Pryde are doing voices for Captain America and Beast.
Oh, that was great.
Brilliant! And
that's another thing that I thought was cool with the crossover between this book and Wolverine and the X-Men. Jason Aaron had been setting them up as a couple for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They recently had their first date in one of the recent issues. And I never really thought that relationship was all that great in the Wolverine and the X-Men book, but here, the chemistry between the two of them, just in that little scene, I thought was great. Like, I could see them being a couple that would like each other, And
there's this brilliant payoff. I mean, I'll let people read it for themselves, so I won't quote it, but there's this brilliant payoff where they're giving them voices, and in some places they seem to be exaggerating, and they're going maybe a little bit too far in the argument that Captain America and Beast would have about time travel and bringing the old X-Men back to the present, and then they walk up to them, and Captain America starts to say the last thing that Beast's version of Captain America said, and I was just like, oh, that's hilarious. I'm sorry, not Beast's version, but Iceman, yeah. Iceman's version of Captain America said, and I was just like, that's awesome. Anyway,
and
he's a great dialogue guy.
That we had this issue of levity, and then it ends on a really dark cliffhanger.
Really dark cliffhanger, yeah.
Yeah, which is really interesting for the implications of this these members of the X-Men team that came from the past and who is going to be leading this team moving forward. Maybe it's a little too much power for the person that's in that position right now. We don't really know. It's left up to us to find out with the next issue. I can't get enough of this book. This wasn't as plot heavy as some of the previous issues. It was a pretty typical Bendis slow moving character issue, but he made all of it work really well.
Yeah, but it didn't feel slow because I was so invested in what was going on and what people were saying. And I mean, if you're going to do a really dialogue heavy issue like this, or a really dialogue heavy issue, it's got to be like this, where I'm not even noticing how dialogue heavy it is because I'm so invested. And you know, you get to the end and it's not jarring when the scary kind of thing happens. I mean, it really feels like it fits in there because it's almost like what's going on is so scary that these characters need to have a little bit of levity, so I'm buying it. I don't know, man.
That's a very good point. Especially since the previous issues we had things with, like, Mystique and Cyclops and all of that dark stuff going on. It was nice to have an issue of levity, and that Mystique stuff is coming back in the next issue, so, you know, I think that was intentional on Bendis' part.
I'm so stoked to see Mystique again.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be as I know I said this before, I never thought I would be as excited to read current X-Men as I am right now. And there was some, I mean, I liked some stuff post-Schism, and, you know, I was getting kind of in X-Men, but man, like, X-Men's the best thing going on right now for me in Marvel. God, there is not a better book. There's not a better book I'm reading. I think this is like right on par with Daredevil. But God, I love this book. Anyway, all I can do is froth at the mouth about how much I love this book. Dan, you got something for us that I didn't read.
Yes, I'm going to be reviewing. I don't have a physical copy to show you guys because this is actually a digital comic. It's the Infinite comic, the first chapter of the all-digital Guardians of the Galaxy issues from Marvel's Infinite thing. And basically what it is Bendis is doing issues that introduce you to each member of the Guardians of the Galaxy team like the Point One issue did for Star-Lord. And the first chapter was free, and I figured, why not give it a try, because it's Bendis and it's free. This issue focused on Drax the Destroyer. It's a short little story where we see him on his home planet, and Peter Quill comes to recruit him, and there's some hijinks that happens between. But it's a nice little introduction to this character who's sort of like the Conan in space. He's this warrior that during peacetime he lacks direction. He gets drunk all the time. He doesn't really know what to do with himself, and Peter Quill comes to him and he's like, look, there's this big problem that we need to deal with, and he's like, give me a direction, give me something important to do, and they go off and they do it. It's a very simple story, but it's a nice introduction to the character. I really got what makes this guy tick and why he's special in the fight that he's in. Someone tries to take over his mind, and you would think that a big brute like this would be dumb and be susceptible to it, but he's strong-willed enough to fight it off, and it's a really interesting fight that Bendis does in that way. It tells you something about the character. It's not just needless action, and I appreciated that about it. One of the cool things for the digital format for this issue is because it's an Infinite comic, Marvel does some interesting things with the panels. Like, for example, some of the panels are quasi-animated. It's not like motion comic level stuff, but there'll be like panels of a character like saying something, and then an event will happen to the right of them on the page, and then you'll swipe it, and then the panel where they were talking before changes to their reaction to that situation. Little things like that are really nice touches and take great advantage of the digital format that's doing stuff that you can't do on the written page, the printed page anyway. So I thought it was pretty cool. You know, it's free, so I'd encourage all you guys to check it out. I think you'll enjoy it for what you spend on it anyway.
It's worth the price of admission. You know, I meant to read that and review it with you because, yeah, it's free, but I just forgot. So anyway, that's the reason I didn't do that, but I probably will. But I really like that Point One issue, so I didn't think Guardians was something I was going to be interested in reading, and now I'm sort of thinking I'm probably going to at least try the first issue because I like the Point One a lot, so...
Yeah, me too. I didn't think I was going to be interested in it at all, and with this Point One and the Drax thing, I'm plus Bendis killing it on everything. That's a big factor for me.
Killing it on everything. You know, I never thought I would see the day, and maybe this is going to be fighting words to somebody, but I never thought I would see the day, Dan, that I would think that the lowest book on the totem pole for Bendis would be Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's still good, but I feel like it's kind of at the bottom end of the totem pole right now of what he's writing.
I'd agree with you. Ultimate Spider-Man is the book, not that I'm not invested in it, it's the book that I'm least invested in and excited to buy every week. You know, when an issue of All New X-Men or Uncanny or Daredevil End of Days comes out, I'm like, yes, this is the first thing I read, you know? But what are you going to do? The man can only make so many good comic books in 1 week.
Well, they're still good. It's just not. Yeah. I'm just not as stoked about it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you hit on something, Dan. Good comic books are supposed to make you say yes. And now we move on to Venom number 32. Dan, we still got Cullen Bunn writing Venom, and we got Eddie Brock now coming in as Toxin. And I really thought that this was going to be like finally the big drag out fight with Toxin. Still hasn't happened yet. He got set up 2 issues ago. We're still waiting for him to really do anything but posturing. And I'm not loving that. I'm kind of ready for that to just happen. But whatever. It's still, it's a good issue. But I'm just sort of like, why did we set him up at the beginning and then we're still kind of waiting?
Right, I feel like this Philly thing, like the transition of Flash moving from New York to Philly has been going on for a really long time.
I think it's only been about 3 issues, but it feels like a long time.
Yeah, maybe because we're so used to the all-new X-Men release cycle where we get 7 issues every, week or so. It's not actually that bad, but it feels like it sometimes. This is a monthly, so it throws off your expectations a little bit. I really like that this Venom book is sort of going back and doing things that Peter Parker dealt with during JMS's Spider-Man run. It's basically like if Peter Parker was allowed to deal with adult problems, that's what this book was be.
That's a great point.
And I really like that about it. Like, Flash gets a job as a teacher at a high school, not a gym teacher at a high school, not a classroom teacher or anything like that. And I like that about it. Peter did a similar thing as a science teacher in JMS's run, and that's really cool to see him dealing with like kids that are like him when he was his age, and he's gonna try to like show them the error of their ways so they don't end up like him. That's a really interesting character thing for him that I think will moving forward.
That was the big thing I latched onto. Yeah, this has to be the book that feels the closest to an actual Spider-Man book for you right now, Dan.
Yeah, this and Scarlet Spider, dude. Which is really ironic considering the implications of the name Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, I know. When you're reading a book that says all the power, none of the responsibility, and it feels more like a Spider-Man book than Spider-Man.
It's very weird.
Well, anyway.
But I'm liking the art in this book quite a bit. This is Shalvey, and I think this is the guy that did the last issue of Remender's run on Venom, if I remember correctly. I'm not really sure. The style looks really similar, so I think that's him, and I liked that issue quite a bit, and he's continuing to do good work here if it's the same person. So,
yeah, this is all working for me. I don't know, there's some decent action in this. I feel like I'm still really loving seeing Venom just going out and being a regular superhero. I think it's really fun to see him go on patrol and look for things and trying to find problems to solve. I like that we've gotten away from the soldier bit a bit and we're getting back a little bit more to traditional superhero. Just because the soldier stuff was it was good, it was fine. It's just that this is a little bit closer to what I really like. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of nice that that's there. Not that the soldier thing is totally gone. I mean, like, he's still working kind of for, but I guess he's still working more for the Avengers now than anything, so
Right. And I think Cullen Bunn's writing what he knows. Remender's such a soldier guy that I think if Cullen Bunn tried to do the same exact thing, it wouldn't work as well, and I like that he's doing a little bit of a different take on it. I really like that Flash is off in his own city doing his own thing now, where he's not having to deal with all the other superheroes all the time. That's really cool. So, yeah, I'm really liking the direction this book is going in, I have to say, and Eddie Brock coming back in as a villain for this is really exciting. I'm really excited to see.
It's just taking too long.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see what he does paralleling the characters and stuff, because I think there's a lot of potential that you can have there with the two of them.
Oh, so. I think so too. And at the risk of giving away something maybe I shouldn't, I wanted to ask you a question, Dan. There's a line in here about Peter Parker suddenly not accepting his phone calls. Am I missing something, or is that just in there and we don't know why that is yet?
It's because Peter Parker is Dr. Octopus right now. That's what I thought. But,
oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Maybe, yeah.
But I don't know. That's just...
Maybe that is what it is. No, that's a good point. Maybe that is all it is. For a minute, I was kind of wondering if maybe there was something set up earlier that I forgot about. But yeah, that's probably all it is. I guess it would make sense that Dr. Octopus wouldn't give a crap about answering Flash Thompson's phone calls. So,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
I'm sure that's all it is. Okay. Well, I'm dumb. I didn't think of that.
No, I mean...
I'm going to go on now, real quick, Dan, to Green Arrow, number 18. So we had a brand new creative team on this book, last issue, 17, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. And do yourself a favor and pick up 17 if you can get your hands on it, and then put it on your pull list and keep reading it, because so far, this is great. This is just what I want Green Arrow to be, and I know I say this sometimes, I kind of hesitate to say too much about it. This is the kind of like muted, kind of dark, simple Green Arrow art that I really like. There's a lot of shadow. There's a lot of black on the pages. There's a lot of the kind of stuff that we saw a little bit of Longbow Hunters, even where you have like where you have like these straight up like white backgrounds, and then you're supposed to like focus on something very specific in the foreground and stuff like that. Where it's not like some of the '90s comics I sometimes rag on, where you just have no backgrounds because people are being lazy. There's like reasons for it here, you know, like artistic reasons, because you'll have some places where it's really detailed, and other places where it's just like, I want you to see this thing right here, and so then you look at it. So Oliver has been Oliver's in the worst place he could possibly be in right now. He's been set up for everybody to think that he has both committed murder and bombed his own building. That's never good. And there's a lot of stuff coming back from the island, and Oliver is realizing that there's there's this character named Komodo that's after him, and that's trying to destroy him, and that's trying to both destroy him physically and mentally. It's definitely that kind of thing. The thing I latched on the most with this villain is that, and again, I won't explain how it connects with the island stuff, because I think that's all interesting, and you should read it yourself. But I liked it. I like, by the way, that we're going back to origin without any flashbacks. Yes, I love that. But yeah, so we got Komodo, and he's this he's got this dragon kind of mask, because his name's Komodo, and he fires arrows just like Green Arrow. And I think a lot of the times, you know, Green Arrow's best villains seem to be people that are also archers. And what I really latched onto was this major creepy factor of he's got this daughter, he's got this little girl who's maybe 10 or 11. I felt like she was probably around like Hit Girl's age, and she helps him torture people. And that freaked me out, but it's done really well. I mean, like, they have this like they have this like really sweet chemistry together, and he's raising her to be an assassin and to torture people to get information out of them. And she sees these horrific things, and they don't bother her because she's being raised that way. That's something that I'm really going to be interested to see as it unfolds. What she's going to be like. Oddly, I think this girl is like my favorite character so far, just because I'm so interested to see what happens with her. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about this book. I think it's lovely. I think it looks fantastic. I think it's riveting. I think there's a lot of really interesting intrigue at the corporate level and at other kinds of levels. Anyway, check that out. It's fantastic.
It's great to hear that that's good. I started reading the Green Arrow book with the beginning of the 52, and I really didn't like it. And Green Arrow is a character that I, want to like. So
this is back
it's good to hear
basics.
that he has a good book again.
This is back to basics. This is like, this is what a rebooted Green Arrow should have been. This is a young Oliver Queen. This is a wet behind the ears, kind of full of himself at the beginning Oliver Queen. And it does all that character stuff you want with a Green Arrow that hasn't really grown up and learned all the stuff that the 40s not the 1940s, but that the 40-year-old Green Arrow has already figured out by the time we get to something like Longbow Hunters. Let's move on now to Daredevil End of Days number 6.
Yay.
Yes.
I love this book.
By the way, is it bizarre that we had the owl in 2 issues this week?
Oh yeah.
Out of 4 books, the owl popped up twice. That's just bizarre. Anyway, I'm sorry. What do you think of this, Dan?
Bendis is telling this story where the mystery seems to thicken every issue. We only have 2 issues left, and I'm just as intrigued and lost at the same time as I was from issue 1. It's incredible, the story he's crafting here. It talks about, in this issue specifically, like the nature of heroism and what it means to be a hero. The classic superhero stuff, like, is there a line that a superhero should cross, and all that sort of thing. And it's really interesting that seeing Ben Urich's relationship with Matt Murdock post-mortem, because it's almost like Ben Urich is realizing how much of a kindred spirit he has in Matt Murdock after he's dead, where, like, his kid's telling him about how Daredevil, the Daredevil that supposedly knew, is killing people now, and Ben Urich is like, Matt would never do that. They can't be him. He's this new Daredevil's not a hero. And his kid points out, well, he killed the Kingpin in front of everybody, and he's like, well, that's different, and he doesn't even try to justify it. He's just, well, he's Matt Murdock. He can do that. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know. This book is so great.
When this goes into trade, and I don't really mean this, but when this goes into trade, there's a part of me that almost wishes that somehow rather Ben Urich's name could be in the title, because Ben Urich has a character study here that there will never be any reason to do a Ben Urich character study ever again, because here it is, and for people that aren't reading this because it's outside of canon, or because, like, it's post Daredevil's death and that sort of thing, read it as a story about Ben Urich, because I feel like everything he's doing with Urich is in that character. I mean, like we're learning a lot of stuff, or we're studying a lot of stuff that we probably knew already about this guy that factors in to this mystery in such an intriguing way. I love these cool little details, like we get to see the list that he's making of all a couple of lists. So we get to see a list of all of the people that he's talked to and what they've taught him so far about Maypone and about Daredevil's death. Then you get to see the back of it, and he's intelligently taken the word Maypone and tried to flip the letters around and figure out every possible iteration he possibly could have come up for that. You don't see this level of detective work in most Batman stories, Dan.
No, you don't.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the people that are doing the art on this book, too. The art team is Klaus Janson, Bill Sienkiewicz, and David Mack and Alex Maleev. David Mack does a couple pages, Alex Maleev does one page, and then it's Sienkiewicz and Klaus Janson doing pencils and finished art. And I think it really suits the atmospheric nature of this book. It's really gritty, it's really dark, which is fitting for this material. It's set in this really interesting, bleak future where, like, superheroes are all marketed for money and all of that sort of thing. It's all about corporate greed, and they have a little bit about that in here with the Owl and how he's sort of a Wilson Fisk wannabe who's filled the void and is finally successful now that the Kingpin's gone. And it's this sort of an interesting parallel with Ben Urich, where Daredevil and the Kingpin are gone, Ben Urich has a new purpose, and so does the Owl. I thought that was a really interesting parallel in putting them in the same room together, where, like, they're the two guys that are next in line to be doing the respective jobs of those characters after they're gone. That's cool. I thought that was really cool. And I don't know, Bendis is doing so many interesting things with the characters in this book. It's really a character study of Matt Murdock through the eyes of everyone who's come into contact with him before. I don't know. I really, really like this book.
And all the way through this book, and I think that one of the best examples is in this issue, Bendis has this incredible sense of misdirection. He knows how to weave a mystery and make me continually keep guessing. This isn't just a mystery about what the heck does the word Maypone mean. This is not just a mystery of what exactly was going on with the death of Daredevil. There are a lot of little mysteries that keep coming up while we're trying to discover that, and a lot of places where we think we know what's going to happen, and then we turn the page and something different happens. And there's this, I won't say what, but I mean, there's this whole thing with the Purple Man, where, like, the Purple Man is played up as being, like, this scary dude that nobody ever pays any attention to, but he's actually, like, a waste skin. And it's true, his power is terrifying, but he's this really, like, sea-level villain nobody's ever does anything with. And, and then where he took that, totally not what I thought was going to happen. You get to the end and you're like, oh, okay. Just incredible sense of misdirection.
Yeah, every issue of this book has had a cliffhanger where you're like, oh my god. And this one was no exception.
And importantly, the cliffhangers are always paid off well. It's not like you get to the next, or at least in my opinion, it's not like you get to the next issue and you go, oh, okay, so they took the easy way out. You know, it's not like, as much as I like this cliffhanger, it's not like Best of Both Worlds in Star Trek: The Next Generation where Riker says fire and then you get to the and then you get to the next episode and it's like, oh well, we can't really do that. You know, it's not like, and I mean, like, you know, that was okay, but I'm just saying that, like, here, you know, you get to the next one and you're still as riveted looking at the payoff as you were at the actual what the cliffhanger was.
Yeah, and the cliffhanger in this issue directly connects with one of the cliffhangers we had in the previous issues, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil what that is, but this is the way to do a mystery book, and I think once this is all said and done, I think this is going to be one of the best Daredevil stories ever told. I'm going to say it right now. So far, I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and I can't even imagine what the end of this book is going to be at this point, you know? It's crazy.
I got one more thing to mention real quick, and this one I will say real quick because I'm not going to have that much to say about this. I'm going to talk real briefly about Superman Family Adventures number 10, and this is you know, a really fun kids book that I really like. I love Balthazar and Franco. I really like them on Tiny Titans. It's really silly fun, and I gotta have some silly fun every now and again. If you know me, you know that I'm a huge fan of the Tick. I'm a huge fan of Powerpuff Girls. I love this guy, Pinky in the Brain. I love this kind of stuff. And well, Pinky in the Brain's a bad example because that's a little more cerebral than this, but the thing is, this series is about to get canceled, and Balthazar apparently is not going to be making these kids books anymore. And what a shame! Shame on you, DC. You need to keep these guys doing these fun kids books because there's not enough stuff for little kids, and there's not enough fun things that are actually clever for kids. And this is I wouldn't be you know, I'm 28 years old and I'm reading this book. I get something out of it, and so you know, I feel like it's not fair to the kids, and it's not fair to me. Dang it, I love this book. But anyway, also another reason that I don't want this book to get canceled, Dan, is that I won't from now on very often get to say things like the next thing I'm about to say, which is which is the synopsis of this issue. In this issue, General Zod comes out of the Phantom Zone and he tries to take over the world by setting up a hot dog stand. Yeah. He sets up a hot dog stand, Dan. It's called Zod. It's called Zod Dogs, and he thinks that see, the last time he tried to rule the world, he tried to do it by just like telling everybody how much better he was than everybody and trying to rule it. And here he says, well, we need to make them like us first and realize that that the world is a better place with us. So he sets up a hot dog stand, and his hot dogs are really good apparently, and everybody eats them. And you don't get a sense of how much time passes in this book. So it really feels like he sets up a hot dog stand in the morning, and then in the evening he's trying to take over the world, which is just hilarious. This is definitely the funniest issue of this book I've read, and I think it rivals a lot of the Tiny Titans I really liked. But how often do you get to see giant walking hot dogs and Superman?
Not very often.
And Superman fighting alongside Jor-El and Lara. They like come out of the Phantom Zone. They have this weird thing in the Phantom Zone with a crystal where for no explained reason they're able to take like a physical form again for just a day, and they do it just long enough to fight Zod and just to kind of, you know, experience life for a day, and that's kind of fun. And they humorously sideswipe the whole oddity of Superman having two sets of parents, where he has this moment where he's like, sorry, Mom and Dad, I've got to go have dinner with my other mom and dad. It's just hilarious, and he's got this part where he just, like, in passing with the Kents, mentions his other parents and flies off, and then they're like, oh, that's very strange, and they don't do anything with it, and it's just hilarious. Like, I don't know. I thought this was awesome. I thought this was all kinds of fun, but anyway, and there's a cliffhanger, which I was really surprised by. So anyway,
have you been reading that book since it started?
I've been reading it off and on. I have it on my pull list, and it's one of those weird things where for some reason it doesn't always make it into my pull, and I need to go back and get some of the rest of the issues. I don't know why, but I haven't been getting this every time, and I need to pursue it harder and get the rest of them, but I just haven't. So anyway, yeah, I've read it off and on. I probably got half of these. Yeah,
because that sounds like a great all-ages book. That's something that I'd give to a kid of any age, really.
Yeah, you would like it. It's hilarious.
Oh, maybe I'll have to check it out along with the Tiny Titans stuff, because it sounds like my sense of humor.
yeah, it's really funny. Anyway, I guess that's all we have for folks today, Dan. Yeah. Another one knocked out. Well, thanks everybody for watching the Comic Book Vault. Hope you enjoyed it. And next week we'll be back with you, as always, with some more brand new books. And if you ever want to send anything for me or Vince to review on the Comic Book Vault, if you send something for Dan, it'll be hard for us to get it to him because he lives in my computer. And you know, the problem is whenever somebody sends something for Dan, he has to be in my computer, and I have to have him read it like this. You know, and it's kind of problematic. But anyway, you can send those things to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183. Lenexa, Kansas 66285. And Dan, you got anything else?
I don't think so. I think I'm all good. Just Daredevil in the Days is amazing. Everyone should read it.
Thanks always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
And we'll see you next time. Happy reading.